When you buy a cheap, plug-in pool vacuum, you often end up spending your weekend pulling it out, fighting tangled cords, and watching it miss the corners that really need cleaning. A lot of people tell me they regret that shortcut because the whole point of a robotic cleaner is supposed to be set it and forget it. So the question is, does the KANGJIEM Cordless Robotic Pool Cleaner feel like a smarter buy? Or is it just another gadget that looks good on paper? Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. I've spent the last few weeks actually running this unit in a 200 square foot above ground pool that sits in a backyard with a small deck and a couple of kids who love splashing. The first hesitation anyone feels is the fear of buying a robot that can't keep up with the pool's size, or that will die halfway through a cleaning cycle. Those worries are real because a lot of cheaper models either have tiny batteries or rely on a permanent power cord that limits where they can go. What I wanted to see with KANGJIEM was whether the cordless design really translates into usable freedom, and whether the advertised 90-minute run time holds up in everyday conditions. The biggest practical strength of this cleaner is exactly the thing you expect from a cordless unit. You can launch it from anywhere around the pool edge and it will roam freely, climbing the walls and tackling the floor without you worrying about a cord getting tangled in a ladder or a pool cover. In my tests, the wall climbing feature actually made a difference on the sloping side of the pool where algae tends to gather. The robot latches onto the vertical surface, scrubs, and then drops back down, leaving a noticeably cleaner line. For a homeowner who doesn't want to spend time pulling a heavy hose through a pool each season, that freedom is a genuine time saver. Battery life is another critical factor. The spec sheet says 90 minutes per charge, and in real use that translates to roughly one full pass around a 200 square foot pool. I found that after about 80 minutes the suction started to feel a bit weaker, especially when the unit was climbing the deeper walls. That's why the 2 to 3 hour charge time matters. If you have a larger pool or you want a spotless finish, you'll need to plan for a second run after the robot docks and recharges. For most weekly maintenance routines, a single 90-minute cycle is enough to keep the water clear, but if you're dealing with a big storm that throws leaves and debris into the water, you'll likely have to run it twice. Another practical upside is the weight and size. At 8.8 pounds, the cleaner is light enough to lift out of the water and store on a shelf without needing a dedicated storage cabinet. That compactness is a relief for anyone with limited garage space. The quick start is as simple as flipping a switch. There's no complicated programming or a maze of settings to navigate. You just press start, and the robot begins its intelligent path planning routine, which seems to cover the pool systematically rather than bouncing randomly. That intelligent routing saves a few extra minutes compared with older models that just wander. Now, let's talk about the trade-offs. The most obvious limitation is the 90-minute battery window. For pools larger than the 200 square foot threshold, you'll see gaps in coverage unless you're willing to let the robot dock, recharge, and go again. That can be inconvenient if you're hoping for a truly set it and forget it experience. Also, the suction power isn't disclosed in the specs, and while it handled fine-grained sand and small leaf fragments, I didn't test it on heavier debris like twigs or a lot of muddy sludge. If your pool is often used for parties or is surrounded by trees that drop larger branches, you might need a more heavy-duty model with stronger suction. Who should buy this unit? If you have an above-ground or modest in-ground pool up to about 1,200 square feet, you're looking for a low-maintenance solution that won't tie you down with a cord, and you're comfortable doing a quick two-step cleaning routine, one run, charge, another run if needed, the KANGJIEM fits nicely. It's also a good match for renters or seasonal pool owners who need something portable and easy to store between seasons. Families with kids who want to keep the water clean without spending their weekend pulling hoses will find the wall climbing and cordless freedom worth the modest extra charge time. Who should skip it? If you own a large in-ground pool that exceeds 1,200 square feet, or if you routinely have a lot of heavy organic debris, you'll likely be frustrated by the need for multiple cycles and the modest suction. Likewise, anyone who expects a single, all-day run without recharging should look at corded models that can stay in the water indefinitely. Finally, if you're on a very tight budget, you might find cheaper plug-in cleaners that, while limited, could still do an acceptable job for a pool you clean manually once a